Live from a NASCAR bunker in Kyle's parents' basement, it's Turn the Radio Off with Mike Parsons and Kyle Bauer.
Become a fan at Facebook.com/TTRO Show. Follow along on Twitter.com/TTRO Show. Or just listen right now. It's Turn the Radio Off.
Kyle's back, everybody. Kyle's back.
Hey.
You're fresh off a romantic Valentine's Day trip to Canada with your pond hockey team, correct?
It was Wisconsin, damn it.
Oh, Wisconsin. Was it northern Wisconsin?
It was.
Okay.
It was the very northeast corner of Wisconsin, about a half hour west of the UP.
Okay, so I was close.
Close enough. I mean, really is beautiful up there. I swear. Like, I always kind of have this Michigan bias. I mean, so many of us are provincial.
Yes.
And, I always have held the belief that, not that I've seen a lot of different land in this country, but I've seen a good amount of it. And, I've seen the Sedona Mountains, or I've seen Sedona, Arizona, and the mountains out there. And
Say that 10 times fast.
And I've seen the Rocky Mountains, and I've seen some of the Appalachians, and I haven't seen the ocean in a very long time, but I even saw that at one point.
It's not much to see, really.
It's just kind of a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's weird.
If I'm looking at the ocean, I don't know if I'm looking at the ocean or like Lake Michigan.
it's kind of a good point.
If you've seen Lake Michigan, you've seen the ocean.
And then I have also been to the northwest corner of the Lower Peninsula, Sleeping Bear Dunes and all that. And I've always held my ground that was the most beautiful region of the U.S. I've seen. I love all the jack pine and everything. Yeah. And, but I don't know. Some of the parts of Wisconsin I saw, the area was called Eagle River. And it was so picturesque.
How picturesque was it?
Very.
Oh, hey-o. Last time I went to Wisconsin, we were passing through on a family vacation, and all I remember was a bunch of billboards for cheese and the Wisconsin Dells water parks.
You know what's interesting? I didn't see any billboards at all. I was in real rural territory here. Super rural. Like my cell phone wasn't getting service and all that stuff. And I got Verizon.
Yeah.
Not that I'm DeRay McKesson and dropping ads for Verizon here, but
they've got the reddest map of all the cell phone ads.
For real, they do. I have Verizon. And
hey, how about that Verizon guy who jumped over to Sprint? I'm not. I don't have any brand loyalty, but something about the "Can you hear me now" guy shilling for Sprint really makes me question people's loyalties in this world.
Verizon really screwed him over somehow. I can't remember. But he went to Sprint with vengeance.
Oh, okay.
It was a
good. So he's the little
calculated
guy,
move.
So he's the little guy railing against the corporation.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that the "Can you hear me now" guy had leverage over Verizon.
Okay, well now you convinced me. I'm pro "Can you hear me now" guy.
But I'm not pro Sprint though. Anyway. Okay, I don't want to talk about cell phone reception here for too often. I'm just going to say that I did...
You know we will if we're not careful.
I did have a very nice weekend playing pond hockey out in Wisconsin, and it was a lot of fun. And I wish that I had a lake in my backyard so I could play pond hockey all the time. Boy, do I love it. Not down here, though, because it's been too damn warm.
Yeah, well, Chelsea from upstairs and I, we took a trip through the Midwest, to Bloomington, Indiana, to go meet one of our favorite internet cats. And as I was driving, I was looking around and saying, there is a crap ton of space around here. You hear all about how urban population and urban sprawl, but really, from about Toledo to northern Indianapolis, I'm just thinking to myself, there's a lot of space for an outlet mall here. It's just, and I just assume if it's farm country, the Amish are around, and for some reason that gives me the creeps that makes me want to drive faster. But Yeah. When I start hearing about overcrowding, I know this isn't very educated of me, but I'm just not seeing it. Sometimes you'll be driving for long stretches of time, Kyle, and then like you see a gas station and you feel like it's an oasis in a desert. You're finding water in Death Valley.
Now, this is interesting because you've talked before about how you don't like on Christmas that all the stores are closed.
Yes, it gives me the most desolate feeling.
So I think you have some weird form of retail agoraphobia. There's probably an actual phobia for that.
Tell me what that means.
Fear of open spaces.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't like desolation. That's what it is. I've never been big on camping. When I drive by a Meijer parking lot and see it empty and the store closed, I almost feel like I'm in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, or I'm in an area where the economy was hit really hard and everything's closed down. It's just I don't know, man. I just feel alone.
You need that. It's comforting. I need bustling signs of Western civilization.
I need something that's open and it's noon anytime you go in there. That's why I like Meijer.
Well, also, you probably feel that way because you worked a lot of weird hours in your life.
That's
too.
true.
That's
true. Because, Kyle, one day, what if we go to the Meijer and the Meier's not there for us anymore?
I would be fine with that because I only go to Meijer in desperate situations.
I think that's what Don McLean wrote American Pie about. The one time he went to Meijer and it was closed, and then he had all these metaphors for the downfall of Western civilization.
Yeah, that was the day that music died.
Right. The day the Meijer closed.
I'm actually with you, but only on like farmland.
Yeah.
If it's like swaths of prairie, then that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. Like there's some sections like you go up into northern Macomb County, like Bruce Township, or like sections of Romeo that the Italians haven't built subdivisions on yet.
Right. But there's still a Walmart nearby.
Yeah, that's true. You still feel like there are some signs of civilization. Driving through Canada, Mike, you wouldn't be able to mentally handle driving through Canada because Canada,
the best way to get rid of the evil spirits that inhabit these wide open spaces is to build a strip mall.
Mike,
drive them right out of there.
You would not be able to handle driving through Canada, and I mean I'm only talking about Ontario,
right?
Good God, we're not even getting into the rest of the country. It is just prairie,
right,
and fields and silos for kilometers.
Yeah, well, Kyle,
the only signs of civilization, they have these things called en routes. It's ON for Ontario, and then routes where it'll be like a little shopping plaza similar to what you see off the Ohio Turnpike. Where it'll be like a gift shop and then a couple fast food restaurants and a gas station. That's all you'll see for like hundreds of miles.
Well, I'm a 2-time Geography B champion, 4th grade and 7th grade.
Wow, that's a pretty expansive run.
Well, I'm very resilient. I never give up. But from what I understand about Canada, you've got Ontario, you've got Quebec, you've got Vancouver, and the rest of it's the Yukon Territory.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I know.
It's basically what it is.
I know. My extensive knowledge from all these geography bees, I know I'm not wrong. But, Kyle, every year I find it very interesting to see how different people react to Valentine's Day. And I don't know. You and I are in different places in life when it comes to that. I've been married for a number of years, and as far as I know, you're single right now. I don't know what kind of irons you have in the oven, but
I'm single. I'm very single.
Normally, when you're dating around, I don't normally meet the girl until you're serious with her. So I'm going to assume you're single here. But it's very much like everything on Facebook and Twitter. It's very bipolar, the posts. Nobody just doesn't post. Everyone's got to chime in. So either someone is posting pictures of their flowers, talking about their amazing significant other, or
that's my stupid cousin.
Was it?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Or or they're talking about how much they hate themselves because it's Valentine's Day and they're single. I got to say, when I was single, Valentine's Day didn't bother me. I don't know about you.
You were only bothered if you happened to drive by an area of land that didn't have a strip mall.
Right, that's true.
It was just coincidental.
Maybe if you hate Valentine's Day so much, you should just hide out in the prairies of northern Canada until it's over. But see, this year I felt like Valentine's Day was very easy for single people to avoid because, if it's on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday, people make a whole weekend of it. This year it was on a random Tuesday. Just take a nap for 4 hours after work, and it'll be over.
The last time that I was single for Valentine's Day, I was at the pond hockey tournament, but just a different year.
Yeah.
And obviously I was distracted, and I did get laid that night.
Just not by...
Ironically, with a woman who had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And decided to cheat on her boyfriend with me
who was
on Valentine's Day.
And you were Oh, no, you were single. I'm sorry. You were single last time.
No,
yeah.
I haven't cheated.
Yeah.
So
Good.
So that was the last time that I was single on Valentine's Day up until this year.
Yeah.
Where, yes, I was single. And, it was difficult for me in spots, if I don't stay busy, the thoughts kind of creep in, and it was a difficult breakup for me. So
I was going to say maybe you're not the best yardstick for this because you did just recently get out of a relationship that you're happy with.
Actually, it wasn't even that recent anymore.
Well, last year you were in that
still
relationship.
Feels like it.
This is your first. This is your first Valentine's Day when you weren't in that relationship. So that probably still smarts a little bit just because it's your first one alone and it reminds you of the breakup.
Yeah, and I didn't have anything to distract me.
See, but I feel like there are certain people who like they torture themselves. Like they go out of their way to be bummed out on Valentine's Day being single. And for me, Valentine's Day is like, look, if you got someone, go out and enjoy it. If you're single, enjoy all the money you're not spending. Maybe it's different for traditional gender roles. If you're a woman, and normally you're the one being spent money on Valentine's Day. But as far as guys go, it's like go out to the buffet and double up on food.
See, I don't know. Maybe I was being a Valentine's purist because here's the thing: I'm single, but there were girls that I could have went out with.
Right. Well, that's
what I mean.
That's why I asked you because I know that you're not dating anyone serious now, but you might have someone you're seeing you're not serious with yet. But I don't want to blow it for you.
And if I didn't want to be alone, like if I was going to let it be that much of an issue,
you could have hotline bling somebody.
I definitely could have.
Yeah.
And I had
not that you're bragging.
No, I'm not. I'm stating it just as a fact. That's what was going on.
Right.
But I decided to actually just work late last night instead, kind of keep myself productively busy. And I was like, because if I get with a girl on this particular night, it could send the wrong message.
Right.
And also, it wouldn't be true. See, I am a romantic. You like really Valentine's Day.
And by the way, I apologize earlier for insinuated that you would cheat on a significant other. I know you better than that. And I don't want to put off that impression of people.
I'm a romantic. And I really do enjoy Valentine's Day because it's a celebration of the person who makes you happy, of the person you're in love with. I just love the idea of just having any excuse to go out and
make a big deal.
Yeah, and celebrate, and make that. But I will tell you one thing, though. I never have been, and I never will be the type. Maybe when I was younger, but I'm almost 30 years old. I like to think that I've grown up a bit. Who does the, look at these. Well, actually, no. Actually, I kind of did that on my birthday last year. I take that back.
What, were you posting and bragging about what you got?
Yeah. Now I think about it, I did do that on my birthday last year. But if it's something stupid like flowers, I mean, come on. Like it's
I did it, but that's because my wife got me a Russell Stover's box full of chicken nuggets.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's true. Now, see, okay, let's set a threshold here.
Okay.
Because that was cool.
It was cool.
If it's something cool, it's
Right.
okay.
Right.
If it's just flowers, you're being an ass.
Well,
like,
you know what it is?
everybody's
Right.
getting something like that.
If you get a flower, if you get flowers and a heart-shaped pizza, your man's not amazing. Just like, he's as amazing as all the people in your life are when they wish you happy birthday on Facebook is right there. I'm so blessed to have so many amazing people in my life. I mean, I'm not amazed when someone wishes me happy birthday on Facebook. It's right fucking there.
See, what was funny was seeing the people who they would get something basic, like flowers or something that's not really like...
You know what I love? I love the... I went and picked out a card for Chelsea yesterday.
Yeah.
And there's just this kind of look on everyone's face when they're in the card aisle on Valentine's Day, and we're all kind of just like bumbling around, and I just look around and I say, "Here we are again, fellas. Same day every year." And I didn't know these guys, but they all knew what I was talking about. And then you go to CVS, and you got the oh shit teddy bears. I forgot it's Valentine's Day, so there's like a whole thing of teddy bears that are all the same. And I'm like, you know what? That's a sign of a guy who forgot it was Valentine's Day until he was on the way home.
Yeah. But if you do get something like that, and then your significant other posts, "Oh, look at what I got! I got flowers, and I got he cares about me so much."
I like
He's
how you're
the
lifting up
best.
your shirt for effect right now.
I'm scratching my belly button.
How could you have not had a Valentine this year?
Things have been getting rough lately.
Yeah. I'm worried about you.
You should be.
You're in my prayers.
Yeah, and then but then like the significant other posts this, and the person who gave it to him comments, "Oh, I love you, babe."
Yeah, right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You do.
You do. You loved him so much that you picked up that bouquet from CVS 5 minutes before you got home.
And you just got to let everyone know, no one was more pumped than you to see your significant other post that shit on Facebook, because it makes you look good.
Wow.
And then you're going to look even better by dropping in with the comment, right?
Ooh, hey, look at that. Stacy's dating a guy who has the baseline amount of consideration on a holiday. Good for her.
Yeah. Oh, this person didn't, go to 1-800-Flowers.
No.
They went to Thrifty.
They didn't use the promo code Rome. They definitely did not do that.
Yeah, they went to Thrifty.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they needed someone to help them right there to pick out that bouquet.
Like my wife, she's a woman. She likes shopping and feminine products. What do you suggest?
It's just funny to me though to see when it's something like that. Like I don't know. I've always been the type, like I said, romantic. I've always been the type where you
put a lot of thought into it.
I put a lot of thought into it. I try to go over the top, and I try to get real nice, thoughtful gifts. But I will say this. I've never been in a relationship longer than 3 years, so I've never had to make it through more than 2 Valentine's Days.
And
so
really,
so maybe I'm being a little too judgmental here.
And you know what, really? Since you only have about 2 Valentine's Day per girlfriend, you can borrow from other good years from other girlfriends you've had and just kind of make the best of all worlds.
That's a real good point. I mean, they're all the same in that they end up dumping me.
Right.
So they have to have some sort of personality trait in common, right?
Get them a bear that says you'll dump me in 3 Valentine's Days anyway. You know it's bullshit, though, Kyle?
They'll get bored of me and leave me for a musician.
Right, exactly. Right. I look like a musician, but I don't play an instrument, so you'll get bored once you get past my looks. You know it's bullshit, though, Kyle?
That's exactly right.
I know. I got you pegged.
I know.
Valentine's Day is the day before payday. I would think the
for
14th.
Your payday.
Well, a lot of people.
Oh, you get the 2.
Many people get paid the 15th and the 30th.
I just get paid bi-weekly.
And that might work out better for you depending on how the calendar lines up.
Reminds me, I forgot to pay my credit card bill yesterday. Shit.
We'll take a break while Kyle takes care of that. It's Turn the Radio Off on the Internet. Let's try that again. It's Turn the Radio Off on the Internet. Turn the radio off on the goddamn Internet.
Less rock, more talk. Turn the radio off.
Become a fan at peoplehatemypodcast.com. So, let me repeat your order here. That'll be 1 double cheeseburger, ching. Large fries and a large soda, ching. 2 kids' meals and 2 medium sodas, ching. 1 chicken sandwich, large fries, and a vanilla milkshake. Bada bing. That'll be $62.75. We're a little shy.
Remember when you could feed your whole family fast food for less than $10? Well, at Rally's, you still can. Rally's has it right.
Hey, Joey, I got some stuff you just gotta try. What is it? Pot. You know, marijuana. Oh, well, I don't know. What, chicken?
Joey's in a jam. What should he do? Cake.
Get a pizza.
Excellent. Get a pizza. Get real.
Get out of there.
You got it. Let's see if Joey's that smart.
I'm not chicken. You're a turd.
Switch off the radio. Turn off the radio. Shut down your radio system.
We'll do it live!
What?
I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Turn the radio off. There you go. I'm drunk.
But seriously, think about it. Think of how much it would stimulate the economy if Valentine's Day was moved from the 14th to the 15th. Because, you know how you feel on payday before you pay your bills. You feel like Joker at the end of 1989 Batman, just throwing money in a parade.
It really is endless.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a very limited amount of funds like I do.
Right.
Yeah, like, it's not so much that you feel like you're throwing money away. It's just like you lose count of it. You're like,
right.
Wait, okay, another 100 here, another 200 here. Oh, God, another 60 here.
Right.
Oh, look at that. I paid all my bills, and I have $30 left for gas and groceries.
For most people, the sense of financial stability after payday lasts 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days. So, on payday, if you don't pay your bills right away, you look at your bank account like, yes, I have more money than the Cayman Islands. And then so, you kind of relax and have a little fun for a couple of days, and you're like, gosh, shit, I've only got 30 cents to last me for the next 11 days.
Yeah, and that's always something stupid. I never thought, that's an interesting thing. The 15th and the 30th, eh?
A lot of people.
Is this this is a thing? I've always gotten paid bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Always.
Maybe that's more. I know where I currently work. When I was working part-time, I got paid bi-weekly. But when I became full-time, I got paid the 15th and the 30th. I miss the old days, Kyle, where I used to get paid weekly. And I think that
I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if I got paid weekly.
I think if people got paid weekly, it would almost feel like they got a raise. Because, their bank account replenished every week. One person, Kyle, out there whose bank account doesn't need to be replenished, and I'm sure you saw these headlines all over the place, and you're actually the first person I thought of when I saw that. Kid Rock name has, quote-unquote, been bantied around for state senator to go up against Debbie Stabenow, the longtime incumbent. Have you been seeing these headlines?
My eyes rolled so far back into my head with such violence, I almost got knocked out of my chair. Well,
here's the thing. Number one,
he hasn't officially even released a statement on it. One,
what would the statement be if he released it?
The statement would be, Debbie Stabenow can suck my dick.
Kiss my ass. Well, here to me right now, it sounds like much ado about nothing. There is some kind of GOP meeting or conference or convention where they are knocking around names to beat Debbie Stabenow, the longtime Democratic incumbent, because let's face it, it's very tough to beat an incumbent. The actual legitimate name that came up, as I forgot if it was the Detroit News or Free Press, said Kate Upton's uncle, Fred Upton.
Oh, the Whirlpool guy, yeah.
Fred Upton, who's, I believe he's a state senator on the west side of the state. And then, of course, Kid Rock's name came up, because that's the world we live in now, Kyle. We live in a world where if you are a celebrity, you will win an election. And I was reading this, and I said, shit. If Kid Rock runs, Kid Rock is going to win. But, the headline obviously is a little bit clickbait-y. This would be one. This would be one instance where Donald Trump would call it fake news, and he'd almost have a point because Kid Rock hasn't said anything about running. His name was just brought up in a conversation like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if Kid Rock ran for Senate? And the answer to that would be no. It would be terrible, and he would win because we live in a world now where people trust rich celebrities more than they trust lifelong public servants.
And it's absurd that this is the case, that this whole idea that, you have to have some sort of public visibility, not for your political actions or your altruism or maybe your, political state. Like it's all just about basically reality shows, and we act like this is a new phenomenon. It's not that new. I mean,
we had
Jesse Ventura,
right,
and Al Franken.
Yeah.
Well, Ronald Reagan too, of course, but he was at least a California governor.
Right.
I mean, you can argue
he worked his way up the ranks a little bit, but
you can argue that he got to governor by being, a public figure, a celebrity,
right.
And then Al Franken is another one too. I mean, he's
former Saturday Night Live cast member.
He's so esteemed now, but people forget that that's what he was for a long time.
Yeah.
And I really don't know if he had a law background or anything aside from all this comedy stuff he did or what. I don't really know that much about Al Franken, except that he used to be on Saturday Night Live and now he's a senator.
Stuart Smalley. He's good enough. He's smart enough, and doggone it, people like him. I wonder if that was his campaign slogan.
And now the idea of Kid Rock, this is the thing. He's not. You need to have some sort of damn education. At least a lot of these business people, they're blue bloods. And, I don't know how hard they studied in school, but at least they come from a decent education pedigree. You got to have an understanding of law. You got to have an understanding of how things work and how to get things done. He would have none of that. And Jesse Ventura, who ended up running basically off of his military service and being an outsider, similar to Trump in that aspect, he was governor and it did not go well. Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, mixed results, but for the most part didn't go well. I mean, his approval rating was in the 20s by the time he left office.
Well, you know what? I may combat your point about Kid Rock not having any education. I don't know if he runs his own business enterprises, but he has managed to have a very long career in a field that's very fleeting.
Yes, exactly. After they came out with that fake Dumbfuckistan meme, where he was wearing that fake Electoral College shirt.
Yeah.
But he turned around and he enterprised that, and he's like, okay, my fans will eat this shit up.
Well, and that's kind of getting to my point. Who knows why Donald Trump decided to run for president, right? Some people say that, it was a publicity stunt that went way too far. But, when I hear these people who can make a ton more money doing what they're doing, wanting to get into politics, I'm like, why would they want to do that?
Just a power move.
I would guess so.
And that's what Howard Stern always said about Donald Trump. Why?
Right. Donald Trump would make so much more money doing whatever the hell Donald Trump does, but, he's going to find a way to cash in on this. I mean,
well, he has obviously already, and that's probably why he's going to be impeached soon.
Yeah.
In any case, for Kid Rock, yes, he's been able to enterprise in some ways, but there are so many issues going on with this state. Michigan is such a vitally important state from a trade aspect, from an energy aspect. You could argue that we're right up there with Texas, and we're right up there with New York and California, states that have far larger populations than ours, just because we have the Great Lakes,
right?
Just because we have all these resources, just because we're right on the Canadian border. When you take all this into effect, and you think about it, Michigan is a critically important state to the entire country. We matter, and to give Kid Rock, somebody who just is not qualified in any way for office to even put him in the conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's reckless.
Well,
is what it is.
And I do have to say, like you said, Kid Rock has not. Number one, Kid Rock didn't put this out there. It was just someone talking at some meeting with the Michigan GOP. And really, what it probably is, it's probably a desperation move, because I think that there are a lot of Republicans out there who are worried about the midterm elections.
As they should be.
And like I said, Debbie Stabenow has had that seat since the year 2000, and it's very, very tough to beat an incumbent. So they're like, okay, well, you know what? We need to keep this supermajority in the House and Senate. We have a tough incumbent. Who can unseat them? Fred Upton. Okay, you know what? In a normal political world, he might be a viable candidate, but we're through the looking glass here. So, I guess Ted Nugent is too busy hunting boars with machine guns on his Texas ranch. So let's see what Kid Rock's up to.
You know what they need to do? The Republicans need to get back to normalizing their party.
Yeah.
We've heard all this thing. We don't want to normalize Trump.
Right.
No, actually, we need some normalization. I mean, you don't want to normalize Trump's behavior. So what you need to do is you need to get back to basics with your party. You need to find somebody who is pragmatic, somebody who maybe is a little bit more progressive on social issues.
See, but maybe not. Maybe that's because
I'm not speaking as a fantasy. For myself. Right. I'm saying there's going to be a real big pushback against all this shit because the Republicans, they got too powerful. They placated to their nut job base too much, and they're going to get a swift kick in the ass. If they want to stem that, they need to recognize, okay, this women's march was a legitimate thing. All this pushback on her trying to defund Planned Parenthood or trying to repeal gay marriage or trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act. The majority of the country doesn't want these things.
Right.
We keep listening and keep our ears open to our far-right base or to our Christian right base instead of listening to middle America, who, yes, they voted for Trump.
You mean real America, Kyle?
And they voted for, the whole Tea Party push. But what was the Tea Party based on? It wasn't based on social issues. It was supposed to be based on fiscal issues, on jobs, on trade.
And it found its niche on far-right social issues.
Yes, it did. But that's not really where the heart of this country lies. And they're going to have to wake up to that. And you know what? Maybe Kid Rock will end up being a pragmatist. I've heard a couple of his Rolling Stone interviews and GQ interviews and stuff. And, if I recall, he's pro-choice. Mm-hmm. But this isn't the type of thing they need to do. I think they need to get back to basics.
You remember you used to hear this hot take in the very early days of memes where people would say, I wish as many people cared about politics as they cared about American Idol. Well, now they do.
They do, and it's scary, isn't it?
And this is the shit that happens. It's Turn the Radio Off on the Internet.
Turn the radio off with Mike Parsons.
No drug dealers living next to me. Pretty good deal.
Kyle Bauer.
Yeah.
People hate my podcast.com.
I'm Polly Pocket. Want to see what's new? Really fun compacts just for you. Polly Pocket has a stage where she dances ballet. In her shiny tutu, so pretty today. Polly Pocket. Polly's water fun park, a big slide for the pair. Then happy birthday, surprise, it's a bear. Polly Pocket. Polly Pocket. Now there's lots more ways to have a Polly day.
Polly Pocket Party Time Surprise, Water Fun Park, and Ballerina Polly Compacts are each sold separately.
Hey, have you guys heard about the guy upstate who lost his beer belly playing with his kids? It's not surprising considering regular physical activity and a healthy diet can decrease your weight and improve your health. Learn more at smallstep.gov. This has been a public service announcement brought to you.
License and registration.
But I'm walking.
Do you want to upset an officer of the law?
No, sir.
Good. I pulled you over today for littering.
I didn't litter.
Wow. That's what they all say. Unfortunately, I saw you drop a pair of thunder thighs a few blocks back. Probably happened as you were biting into that apple you're holding.
How'd you know they're my thunder thighs?
Well, my young friend, I'd like to say 2 years in the police academy helped figure it out, but between us, it was smallstep.gov.
Smallstep.gov?
Yep, Rooney. It's this site with tons of easy ways to lose weight. Some steps are so easy, people don't realize they're doing them. Like you taking small step number 83, snack on fruits. Go to smallstep.gov, you'll see. You can drive off now.
I'm still walking.
Take a small step to get healthy at smallstep.gov. A public service.
Turn the radio off. Tell your friends about us. Make them like us on Facebook.
I am not sure if we are broadcasting properly.
Turn the radio off. Online and worldwide. TTROshow.com.
And yes, Paul and all of our listeners, I know that all of our elements are crashing over each other in the last couple seconds. And I just don't have the will to fight it. I'm just going to let it roll and roll the dice.
What's going on?
Yeah, I forgot to insider baseball here. I forgot to set the segues to 0 in this Zara automation that I use. So, like the last 3 to 5 seconds of every element crashes into each other. I just don't have the will to fix it.
I gotcha.
Kyle, I'm interested to get your take on this because you were sort of on the cutting edge of being a Mike Ilitch, I don't know, I don't want to say skeptic, but being critical of some of his business practices. And, of course, last Friday he passed away at the age, it was 87, right?
Yeah.
He passed away at the age of 87.
Well, it was close to that. I honestly can't remember. I think it was 87.
It was 87. Yeah. It was a good long life, and
a life well lived.
Yeah, and let's see. What was I going to say? No, I'm having a senior moment.
Okay.
87.
Well, do you need me to pick up some slack here?
No, because I want to throw something out at you here.
Okay.
The age of 87, he passed away, and there was talk about his health for a while. I heard he was sick even back when Jim Leland was still
he was
coaching
sick.
the team.
He was sick in 2012. I don't think anybody can forget when the Tigers won the pennant in 2012 and they brought him out onto the field.
Yeah.
Dave Dombrowski and Jim Leland were holding him up.
Right.
And he looked like he had lost about 40 pounds.
And it seemed like ever since then, every season was like, let's go try to win this one for Mr. I, because it might be his last season. And of course, the Tigers weren't able to win the whole thing while Mike Ilitch was alive. And of course, what happens after someone dies? At first, everyone canonizes them, talk about all the great things that they did, and then after that, people say, okay, this guy did a lot of great things, but here are some bad things that he did. And Mike Ilitch's death was no different. At first, after he died, all the things he did with his businesses and for the Foxtown area of the city of Detroit, small personalized stories like helping out Rosa Parks with her rent. There's debate on how much and how long, but you hear all these great stories. And then, of course, the detractors come out, and you might be able to fill in some of these blanks, Kyle. A lot of people saying, okay, well, he stiffed the city of Detroit for a lot of money, whether it be taxes or rent on Joe Louis Arena. In the new arena district, he bought up a lot of that land and let it go to pot so that the property value would plummet and he could buy more of the land up for free. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything here, Kyle.
You're about right.
Yeah.
You're at the heart of the point, and I'm glad because I write for Winging It in Motown on the side, one of my hobbies, and I was thinking about writing this Ilitch piece where it would be like, okay, this is what we have to thank Ilitch for, and this is some of the bad that he also left with it.
And I think it's fair, and I'm not bringing this up to trash the late Mike Ilitch, but I'm bringing it up because I think it's fair to point out the good and the bad that a person has done in their life.
Exactly. And but I looked at what had already been written, and I was thinking, yeah, this isn't getting past the editor. I mean, there are people who are convinced that Ilitch was a saint on earth. I mean, really, it's astonishing to me how you get polar opposite views of who he was as a businessman. You know, I can isolate his legacy as an owner as far as personnel goes. Nobody turned around a franchise like he turned around the Red Wings. The Red Wings were
the dead things.
I mean, it was bad. It was grim. I mean, they went through a stretch in the 70s where the 70s and early 80s where they were the worst franchise in sports.
Mm-hmm.
And he went in, and I think in a matter of 4 years, by co-signing the draft with Steve Yzerman and Jimmy Devellano and Nick Polano too, which was the head scout for them back in the 80s, brought in a lot of the talent from the Eastern Bloc and also some of those great young draft picks, guys like that. He co-signed all that stuff, or had a direct hand in their hiring, and he turned around the Red Wings, made them, I think, go through one of the greatest runs in modern NHL history, and I think as the game continues to evolve, a run that you're never going to see again.
Right.
You're not going to see another Edmonton Oilers and New York Islanders. And I know Paul, who's listening, a New Jersey Devils fan, is saying, well, what about the Devils? Okay, fine, Paul. The Devils, too. I mean, really, in all sincerity, I mean that. But point is, Ilitch did an incredible thing as Red Wings owner. As Tigers owner, he
tried.
You know what, though? This is something as Tigers owner, and he was guilty of doing this with Joe Louis Arena, too. He wanted new arenas for the Red Wings as far back as the late 90s.
Right.
He wanted to get the Red Wings a new arena. He wanted out of Joe Louis Arena. With the Tigers, he let Tiger Stadium fall into dilapidation. He did some minor cosmetic updates to it, and I think it was 95 or 96, not too long after he bought it. But what few people know is he went down to Tampa and had a meeting with the city about bringing the Tigers into Tropicana Field.
Oh, really?
Because they wanted a baseball team. Originally, they were supposed to get the Chicago White Sox. That fell apart at the last second. White Sox stayed in Chicago, got a new stadium. Ilitch saw that Chicago ended up paying for most of New Comiskey Park, as it was known back then, and said, oh, well, I know how I can leverage the city into paying for a new baseball stadium. I'm going to go down to Tampa, and I'm going to have a talk with the city about moving the Tigers down there. That moment in history has been completely buried.
It's the first time I've ever heard it.
Ilitch at one point, and you can look it up, Ilitch at one point threatened to move the Tigers to Tampa. And if he didn't get a new stadium, replacing our beloved Tiger Stadium, not renovating it like Wrigley Field or Fenway Park, both still standing, he ended up getting public money and subsidies to build Tiger Stadium. He also, as you mentioned, bought up a lot of land, turned it into parking lots for his property, let the buildings go into complete dilapidation, lower the property values. When he renovated Fox Theater, it was said this past week on Michigan Radio, Jack Lessenberry, who is a commentator on there, brought up that when his quote after he renovated Fox Theater and reopened it in the late 80s, if it makes me money, great. If it helps Detroit, fine.
Yeah.
He was a businessman first. People are acting like he dumped billions of his own dollars into the city. No, he held the city hostage and had the city pay for his stuff. He was a great businessman.
Well, and like I'm saying,
what he was first and foremost.
Right.
A great businessman, a great hockey owner. I thought he was a middling baseball owner.
Well, in a lot of these things and these are a lot of things that he's been criticized for, and some justifiably so. But I mean, these sounds like anything a businessman trying to leverage his assets would do.
But Mike, you're right. That's the thing. You're right. But people are acting like he was something more than that.
Like he was a benevolent angel of the city.
Like he was. And like he was somebody, I mean, did he invest in Detroit? Yes.
Yeah.
He probably invested in Detroit for the same reason Dan Gilbert started investing in Detroit 6-7 years ago.
Buy low, sell high?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He saw just a space that he could go in and turn into his playground because the city was so broke, so desperate, they wouldn't say no. They were so desperate for any sort of development, they wouldn't say no. And Ilitch was the same way. I mean...
Now, knowing all this, though, you still would have to say that Mike Ilitch has been a net positive for the city and the region.
Yes, I still say he's been a net positive because I'm a sports fan.
Right.
Am I a resident of the city, who lives on the east side and has to hear about how great Mike Ilitch was despite my property values continuing to decline, despite crime going up, despite my children's schools just being closed? What did Mike Ilitch do to help that?
Yeah.
And if you want to say that's unfair... Go ahead. Fine, you could say that's unfair, but I'm just saying for the amount of credit that he's getting for being more than just a sports owner, I don't think it's proper. I don't think it's accurate. I think it's more lionization from the suburbs.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of the props are coming from the suburbs.
Exactly, and you know why? Because he gave the suburbs entertainment. He gave people in Livonia, he gave people in Shelby Township a reason to drive down to Joe Louis Arena or Comerica Park on a Friday night and then turn around, get right back on the Lodge or get right back onto 75 and go north.
Now, one thing that did give him some City of Detroit cred with me was that at my workplace, we had both Dennis Archer and Mayor Dave Bing on talking about how much, whatever his motives were, how much him moving to downtown Detroit, to be honest, helped that region. You're right. He not much for neighborhoods, and that's a lot of the criticism Dan Gilbert is facing. Yeah, you're doing a lot for downtown, but what about the neighborhoods? And like you said, they're businessmen. If there's not money to be made in the neighborhoods, then they're not going to go into the neighborhoods.
Yeah, these aren't people who are charitable by nature.
Right, and that's not necessarily a knock against them. It's just tempering. It's sort of tempering the over-exaggerated public image.
Well, yeah, and people are pointing out this Rosa Parks story.
Yeah,
and that's...
I didn't want to talk about that too much because a friend of the show, Aaron Foley, who I think is probably one of the best voices for Detroiters. I'm not even going to say young Detroiters, just Detroit, just an insider perspective of someone who's grown up in the city, still lives in the city. He put out a piece. Debunking a lot of that, but I didn't read it. So maybe you probably read it, so you might be able to speak to that a little bit more.
Well, it was just when Rosa Parks, she had, it was about 15 years ago, she had a bunch of issues with her caretakers, and she ended up going broke, and having to go into bankruptcy. Ilitch was one of many people who helped contribute to pay her rent. I mean, but he wasn't the only one, and he didn't.
Still laudable,
he
though.
didn't do it for. It wasn't like he did it for years, which some outlets had reported that basically he was housing her, is what they made it sound like. No, but Mike, you're right. It's still a great thing that he even contributed at all, and that it stayed quiet. I think that's a true sign of altruism when you don't do things for publicity. You keep it under a table. This was kept under a table, and you know what? Good for him.
Right.
That was a true good-natured move. Spoke to his character. And a lot of people have said positive things about his character, how well he took care of the people in his life, how well he took care of his players and personnel. But again, for every story I hear about that, I hear another story, where he was human.
Right. Well, that's the thing. He was a human being. He was a human being. He was very good at business. He helped out a certain portion of the city that needed help, but he didn't save the city from itself. He didn't fix all of its ills.
Yeah, where he booted a family member out of the circle, or he found out a certain player was sleeping with his daughter, and suddenly they were traded. Which those are some great rumors if you want to dive into them. I won't say them on here, but I'm just saying you go to the right outlets, you can find some pretty juicy rumors. Anyway, a point being... he wasn't everything that he's made out to be as a person and as a fighter for the city.
Yeah.
I want to call him a fighter for the city. I would say he's someone who supplied Red Wings fans and Tigers fans and Little Caesars fans, Detroit Drive fans, Detroit Rockers fans. Oh wait, the Rockers weren't him. Never mind. He provided a lot of people with a lot of good memories and moments. Thanks to some of the good moves he made as a sports owner and as a businessman. But again, to look at him as he was some champion or fighter for the city, no, I think he saw an area that he could monopolize on, and he moved on it because that's what he is. He was a good businessman, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm curious to see is what is Chris Ilitch's going. What's his mark going to be?
Right.
Rumor is he wants to sell all the assets and just basically live off of shareholdings and being an investor for the rest of his life. We'll see. And it's going to be curious to see. And now you have Goris and Gilbert taking the man. Tom Goris, to me, has already done more than Mike Ilitch has outside of being an owner, and that is the contributions he's made to Flint during the water crisis. He's had the Pistons deliver water to Flint, and he saw a good PR opportunity, but still the point is that he's doing it.
Right.
I know I'm contradicting what I just said about Ilitch and Rosa Parks, but the point is, in these times today, he's looking at what's being, what was happening in Flint, and he's already gone up there and made a contribution. I think that's a sign of a good owner. It was the deal that he cut with Little Caesars Arena, where they basically paid him to move into the arena, where they paid bond money for him to move into the arena. Was that charitable? No, but still, he's shown some signs of good character.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, despite their motives, the good deed got done.
Right.
And just going back to Ilitch, I would argue that for people our age, Kyle, Mike Ilitch probably is the one single person who shaped the living in Metro Detroit experience more so than any other individual. Talking about you grew up a Tigers fan. When we were kids, nothing was bigger than the Red Wings in the late '90s, and if you're a kid and it's a celebratory occasion, you're eating pizza. And many of us before the Hot and Ready grew up with the pizza, where it would come in that piece of cardboard in that white bag.
I could go for some of that right now.
And it's kind of funny because you were talking about how he provided the suburbs with entertainment, and it's exactly what I was. I was a kid growing up 17 mile out in the suburbs, and when I think of all of my free time back when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, it was mostly using Ilitch products. So I'm not really saying that's a endorsement or not. I'm just saying that it's just something that I thought about listening to all the coverage of his life and his passing.
Yeah, and you're right, and that's the imprint that he leaves, and I think that's why so many of these people are so emotional about him, or feel like this was such a big loss. When people have sincere, genuine feelings of despair about him, I mean, they really feel attached to him.
Yeah.
And again,
and I got to say that surprised me a little bit.
Oh, not me.
Really?
I mean, there has not been a more beloved figure in the suburbs, and even when the Detroit water crisis was going on and people were having their water shut off, back in summer 2014, and Ilitch had about, what was it? He had about, a few $100,000 worth of unpaid water bills that he was getting away with.
Yeah.
Yeah, even then, he was still everyone's hero.
Yeah.
Listen, I know I'm being overly critical about Ilitch, but the reason why I'm digging in so much is because all of this stuff is getting lost. You could take it for what it's worth, but I'll remember Ilitch for the good and bad.
Yeah.
Because there was bad.
Sure.
There's a lot of good.
Just like every
There's
human
also
being.
bad. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem is he's not been treated as a human being. Again, he's treated as a saint on earth in his passing,
Well, yeah. I guess if you're looking at it fairly, you remember Mike Ilitch as a good businessman. Some of his business dealings were very positive for the city of Detroit, but there's a lot of things that he did that were detrimental to certain parts of Detroit that have been swept under the rug, which normally does happen when somebody passes away. A lot of, look at Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson before he died, he was the butt of all these jokes, and all of a sudden after he died, he's the greatest entertainer and the greatest talent of all time. So you kind of temper that with someone who. All his detrimental dealings were sort of under the radar, and you're gonna get this saint effect, I guess.
And I don't know how much he negotiated Little Caesars Arena.
I would imagine not a whole lot. I got the feeling that towards the end he wasn't really all that involved in the day-to-day business dealings.
The last time I saw him in public was around this time 1 year ago. Actually, but maybe it was more about 13, 14 months ago, was when the Tigers signed Jordan Zimmerman, the pitcher, and he surprisingly made it to that press conference.
Yeah.
It was a big shock for everyone to see him there. And, but I don't know, as far as the actual arena deal getting done, I feel like there's so much. I feel like that was all, Chris Ilitch and, maybe. Oh God, I'm forgetting his name. Well,
if that was Chris Ilitch, though, and he really does want to sell off all the assets, that kind of is a shame. At least from the standpoint that he showed that he can get these big negotiations done. But he doesn't want to. He doesn't have. If that theory is correct, because the other theory is that Chris Ilitch will just take over running everything. So
yeah, and I mean, from what I gather, I would much rather have Chris Ilitch sell the team, because I've heard he's very stingy. He's not very interested in what goes on. I mean, that's one thing about Mike Ilitch, is that he was very invested in the product. As far as the Tigers went and what was going on with the Tigers for the first 10 years that he owned them, I have no idea. I just know that his whole mission was to get a new ballpark first, and then it seemed like putting a good team out there was second.
Right.
But as far as hockey went, and then from 2004 onward, he was heavily invested in his teams, and what went on the field and what went on the ice. And it doesn't seem like Chris Ilitch, if he sticks around, is going to be that type of owner.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. I mean, not that he was necessarily a point of interest, but how often have you seen Chris Ilitch at games or at press conferences?
Right. Got to go. See you next week, maybe. Maybe we can make it a 3 in a row here, Kyle.
Maybe.
Thanks for listening, Paul. Bye.
Do it again just like you did before. Do the 4-corner press just one time more.